Since I'm waiting on the cable guys still, a little bit about myself and what I do as far as security consultant. I don't. I believe that you either are or you're not. You either are a car mechanic or you're not, or you either are a dancer or you're not. That's just the way I've always operated things, and really security. I grew up on security. It's really the only job I ever had. I mean, I had a couple. I worked for a Ford dealership for a little while, and then I tried auto glass for a little while, and it was one of those things that I would quit, and then they would offer me more money and a rank promotion or whatever to bring me back. So and since I didn't like what I went into, say like the auto glass, it started out okay, but then it was just a lot of BS. But anyway, I don't, I think a lot of that, the security stuff came from um, when I was younger. I was given a book when I was a kid. They used to, have this. I think it was called Reading is Fundamental or Reading is Fun or something like that. So when we were in school, you had to go to the library and you had to read a book for a certain amount of period of time, and they marked you down for it. And so I didn't know what I wanted, and after a couple days of this, the librarian sat down and talked to me and asked what I was interested in or what I might be interested in, and she lays down this big book. It's like a big orange book, and it was called the Golden Book of the Civil War, and I just inhaled it. I mean, it was where, don't get me wrong, I still played sports and that kind of stuff, but where everybody was worrying about Buster Douglas knocking out Mike Tyson. I was reading about the Civil War, and luckily, my mom and my stepdad bought me a couple more books. I think I checked out that book from the school for like the whole year or maybe 2 years, like maybe fifth and sixth grade or something. I think I checked the whole thing out because nobody else was reading it. Then my mom and my stepdad got me a couple more books, and then I just, like I said, I just inhaled all that information. I later on, found out like, regular business, they have, golf or some people even play softball. But it seems to me like our golf or the security community's golf is history or military history and a lot of the Civil War stuff and a lot of the maneuvers and disciplines and stuff like that. What I mean? It hands in hands with security. Not just your basic security, but even your event security or large crowd security or even movement of such. Um, you can find that knowledge in those books. And when we were kids, we used to, where we live is surrounded by woods. And we used to play these war games, and they would start Friday at 4 or whatever, or 5 p.m., and they would end Sunday at 2 or 3 or depending. And they would go on every weekend or every couple weekends, and you would go out there and you'd stay. You'd stay in the woods, and a lot of these battles were, like 30 on 30. I mean, that's when kids, actually did stuff, and it would be 30 on 30, and your bike would be cavalry, and that could be dangerous because in my neighborhood, where this was taking place, a couple of those bikes were like actually paid BMXers. You know what I mean? Like race for Team Diamondback, and you know paid them then when they were kids, and paid them. One's still out, older than I am in California, and I think he's a K9 cop now, but he still races. He still races for Diamondback, and so you had to be careful. I mean, a lot of those kids were really, really good. And then one weekend, I got caught, and they had prisoner of wars and everything, and I was handcuffed to a tree. Like, I think I was caught Saturday morning, so it was like all Saturday and Sunday, and kids now, they got it lucky. It was pretty brutal back then. Those kids beat the hell out of me with sticks, and I mean, they weren't real big sticks, but still, it was sticks. And I even had one piss on my shoes, and then it turned out to be my brother, one of my older brothers. And so I made it a point that after that I was never going to get caught. So what I would do is every couple of days, I'd pack up my backpack after school and grab my BB gun and head out there and with these books and try to visualize, especially like at Gettysburg came big because of hills. You know, these particular battles was like adjacent to two hills. They're probably not big hills now, but they were pretty big hills then. So, one side would have this side and big mounds and they were actually kind of BMX tracks too. Because these kids lived in the subdivision I lived in, their parents built, a couple BMX tracks on the outskirts of the neighborhood. So and even those would get pretty bad. I mean, they would have people come out from all over the place. But anyway, so I made a point I was never going to get caught again. And I didn't. I never got caught no more after that. You didn't want to even get shot at. I mean, some of the kids had like photons were early then. Laser tag was early. So still those, but those stuff gives you away. You know what I mean? So for how many ever laser tags you had on your team, the other team had to have the same amount. Same thing like with the photon guns. And there was a gotcha paint gun, that was back then, but it wasn't real great. But majority what people used was like the Daisy spring-loaded, target BB guns, and that's what we'd use. You just didn't shoot at the face or the hand, the head or whatever else. But you shoot anywhere else. And they didn't break skin or anything, and still you wore thick clothes, but it still stung. You didn't want to get hit. If you got hit by the farm that this place took, on the back of our subdivision was a farm. There's a farmer a couple miles, and sometimes he would cause issues and shoot rock salt at you and stuff like that. And that's another thing you don't want to get hit with. You don't want to get hit with rock salt. But anyway, so I would just go out there and I would just inhale all this, and then history just became my thing. I graduated from went to several school districts, because my family moved around a lot, but I ended up graduating from Lake Orion. And then kind of just took a security job at the Palace in Auburn Hills, where the Pistons were at the time, and they were doing Pine Knob too. So I worked those for a while. A lot of gate work, when you first start out. But I learned a lot. I learned, being able to watch early. I was able to see things develop. You know what I mean? There's certain warning signs. The biggest thing is reading people, but there is warning signs, that if you recognize them early enough, there is stuff that can be done. So, and if you've ever been to Pine Knob, they always tear up the hill, and there's always some kind of fight, and there's always kind of some kind of grass being thrown, and there's just always something. My first event was at the Palace with a Russian circus, and that was weird. Those, the clowns are clowns. I wanted to fight a couple of them after that. And don't worry about my brother pissing on my shoes thing. I know that was kind of out there, but I got him back. I ended up hitting him in the face with a BB a couple weeks later when he was showing off, and in front of his friends. And then the bullying stopped, shortly after that. But anyway, so I started working there, and then I think I got a job at Flannery Ford driving parts, and I really liked the manager. I mean, I really liked the family. It was one of those people like you wish you would have stayed in contact with as far as the family is concerned. But from there, I got hired into the mall, Wonderland Mall at the time, which is gone. I liked it. I liked it immediately, and I did real well there. And like I said, every time that, they were quick with the raises and promotions too. So I got, I took the money more than I took the promotions, but it was fun. I got to learn a lot there. And I think, I was in Wonderland, like I said, and it's gone. I was in Tel 12, and that's gone now too. I was in Universal and Warren, and that's gone. And then I ended up, my last mall was Macomb Mall in Roseville. But I think, altogether, I think I was in the malls maybe 10 to 12 years. It was a long time. A lot of things happen. You learn a lot from watching people, with camera systems or whatever. And, we were a busy mall. I mean, we averaged probably, 5,000, 5,500 reports, a year. And again, that's not all incidents. If someone complains, you generally write a report, or, if there's a complaint, then you got to write a report. And, so there's a lot of reasons to write a report, especially those places. You write a report for everything. Within and out, write a report. We had, we were one of the first malls in Michigan to have that camera technology with Guardian, which everyone has now, to where, they can watch from where they are, and they can open doors from their location. They don't have to be on site to do stuff. And, of course, every time new technology comes out, you lose a couple people because of budgets or whatever. But we were busy enough that we were able to justify, a lot of the people that we had. We did a lot of, AED training, that actually had saves. There was people actually saved, the time I was there with that AED. It's, one, I remember Shlomo was his name, a Jewish fella. And we had a big fire too. I'm not going to get into the whole story because I did a radio show in 2019 that has the whole story. But it was a big fire. Like a quarter of the mall was on fire. And we put it out. Or we contained it until the fire department got there. And it was, it got the couple of us that were there, and I was in charge. I was a lieutenant at the time. A lot of recognition because we did it where not a lot of people knew on the front half of the mall. Of course, if you were on the back half of the mall, you knew because there was fire and smoke. But if you were on the front half of the mall, you really wouldn't know what was going on. I had a mentor there, a guy named Joe Ortez, and he just kind of took me under his wing. I became his aider camp. And he did a lot of high-end Detroit Jewish events and, security-wise. We did a lot of IDF dinners. We did a lot of IDF events. Some big ones, too, and I learned a lot from him. And, he became kind of like a father figure for a long time. A long time in that mall. It was pretty special. From there, I think, I should have probably stayed there a little bit longer than I did. But, the whole pride thing, there was an issue. One of the stores owned their parking lot. And so we never responded to this location. Their own security did. And it was known. It was well known. It's just how they operated. And the police did something over there. And our guys didn't catch it. Because, why would the police call mall security? They wouldn't. Especially this type of operation. And besides that, my mobile guys were out in the lot because a bus, crashed into a car and rolled it over. So they used to have a bus stop, on site. So the bus hits us and rolls it over. So, they were responding to that incident. But then it come out that, and when you're in charge, the biggest thing you got to understand that everything that happens there, regardless if you're there or not, you're responsible for. And so this was just after a new ownership at the mall. They felt that I should have known. I wasn't there. But my guys should have known. And then they should have made notification to the mall. Now, they made notification to the mall about the wreck, but because it was a special operations police operation, we didn't know what was going on there. And we wouldn't anyway because our guys don't patrol there. This particular store does. So it was something like, I don't know, take a pay decrease or something. And then, at that time, there was some other politic stuff going on that I just said, hey, you know what? I'm going to go somewhere else. So I did. I went to the Jewish Community Center for a couple of years as a security coordinator. I learned a lot. I got to see, I did the Maccabi games with them. The security operations. I didn't run it. Actually, I think the guy that's the Warren Police Commissioner now ran it, I think, because he was like the West Bloomfield chief at the time. But, I learned a lot of that, especially like huge operation. Maccabi is huge. It's like the Jewish Youth Olympics. And, they have hockey, baseball, basketball, soccer, the whole works. So, and it was a whole week, I got to learn a lot. It was pretty cool. From there, I started doing events. I got a job at Ford Field. I was on their response squad for a while. I did the Buick Open and a couple of events, but I needed a full time at the time. So then I went to work for an armored car company, and for their security. And then I ended up being promoted there to investigations. So I ended my investigations and security for those guys, and I was there probably 7 or 8 years for that one too. But in those years, they had another security license, so they allowed me to do events, and that's kind of how Spartan started. It was called All Security, and the events had to pay for themselves. I mean, they didn't give me money for them. I had to go out, I had to recruit, I had to get the clients, and then I paid a percentage to the license holder. And sometimes that percentage was only $1,500 or $2,500, and sometimes that position, that percentage was $7,000 or $8,000. It was a good run. Like I said, our second year, Adam passed away, and Adam brought a lot to the table. I mean, not only physically wise, but he was quite a guy. He was a good guy. He passed away in a motorcycle accident. But anyway, as far as what I do now with Spartan is a security consultant, and so what I do is if a client calls, say for an event, and they need help recruiting. Say it's a security company and they need help recruiting. I do that. I reach out and I recruit people and get them to work to this event. The biggest thing, you have to get them to show up. This year was kind of rough, recruiting wise, but I done pretty well in recruiting for many years, and money's going to bring them in. You don't necessarily need rock stars every day, but the times you need rock stars, you need to pay for them. Or if you're a client, say you have an event and you're looking for security, or if you're looking for help with setup or anything along those lines, I do that also. I'll reach out to the company or a series of companies and let you interview them or let you talk to them. And where I get paid is, like, say if the client hires me to do it, I would get it from the client. And like, for instance, right now, one of my clients now, that does a security company here local, I just get a regular pay, so whatever I sell, at this point goes to them, and whatever consulting, they get a percentage also. So it's a lot of it goes into consulting, not just, the actual events, is the intelligence gathering. If someone's going to hire you to assist them to do something, you have to know what you're talking about, and that requires a lot of intelligence gathering, be it social media, company websites, people. It takes a lot, because if you're going to make a move on something, you want to make sure that there's a good chance you're going to get the results that you want. If a client is super happy with their company at contract time, can we try it? Sure, let's try it, but, and let's give 100% effort. But, generally people don't like to make changes if they're happy, but if we get information that someone's unhappy, or as our instance in Missouri where the client reached out, which, he should be calling pretty soon for an audit. But he's not happy with their national at all. You know, I mean, this national covers 3 sites, and their contract ends, I think, next November or October, and they want to start making that move. But so reached out to me, and so I get a couple companies that will help with the audit. The first one kind of fell through, so we have another one ready. We're just waiting for the green light, and they'll go. Since then, they've done a couple other things, so to make it worth their while. And then, continue that relationship with that client and to picking helping them shop for another security company, or, trying to be that security company. Although I don't think right now that company is able to, license-wise. But I just want to give a little bit about me and kind of what I do day to day. I'm always open for more clients. You know what I mean? A lot of, I can do a lot. I can do a lot for people. So if you're looking, for someone that can do some of these things for you, or if you have a security concern and you just want to talk to somebody, be in an event or static or armored or whatever it is that you need, I can get you right. I can put you in that direction and make you feel safe. So that's it. Wanted to give a little bit about myself and where I came from, and have a great day.